I never thought one night could change the way I saw my own family forever. It was supposed to be simple, just a harmless decision to sleep in my sister's room while she was away. Our parents were out of town, and her room had the better air conditioning. That's all it was meant to be. But what I found there, what I saw, what I felt, it's something I've never been able to say out loud. And even now, just thinking about it makes my chest tighten. This is not easy for me to share, but I know I'm not the only one who's been through something like this. Growing up, my sister always had her secrets. She was the quiet one, kept to herself, always on her phone, and never really let anyone too close. But we were close as siblings go. At least, I thought we were. Still, I never went into her room. It was kind of an unspoken rule in the house, her space was hers, and she guarded it like it was a vault. So the night I decided to sleep in there while she was away visiting a friend, I wasn't prepared for what I'd find. At first, everything felt normal. Her room smelled like her, vanilla body spray and that weird herbal shampoo she always used. The lights were off, and I was just scrolling on my phone, trying to fall asleep. But something about the silence felt off. Heavy. As if the room itself was trying to speak to me. I know how that sounds, but I swear, the feeling was real. When I finally put my phone down and turned to sleep, that's when it started. The light on her nightstand flickered, twice. I thought it was just a loose bulb. But then, I heard a noise. A soft thud, like someone had dropped something, or stepped on the floorboards just outside the room. My heart started racing. I knew I was alone in the house. At least, I thought I was. Trying to calm myself, I sat up. That's when I noticed something odd, her closet door was slightly open. It had been shut before. I was sure of it. And peeking out from the edge of the door was something I can't unsee. Not a shadow. Not a person. But something that made my stomach twist. It was a photo. A printed photo stuck behind a shoebox, just barely sticking out. I don't know what made me reach for it, but I did. And the moment I pulled it out, I froze. It wasn't the photo itself that shook me, it was who was in it. My sister, and someone she should never have been that close to. Someone who wasn't hers to hold. What I saw that night was only the beginning. The secrets hidden in that room weren't just my sister's. They tied directly into my life, my trust, and a betrayal I never saw coming. I wish I could say I left it alone. I wish I could say I closed the closet and never looked back. But I didn't. And what happened next changed everything. I sat there staring at the photo in my hand, unable to breathe. It was a picture of my sister, smiling, too closely, with someone I recognized immediately. It was my boyfriend. Or at least, the guy I thought was mine. His arm was around her waist, their faces inches apart like they were sharing something more than just a joke or a casual moment. My chest tightened as questions started spinning in my head. Was this recent? Was this before we started dating? Or was it happening right now, behind my back? The more I stared at that photo, the more my mind refused to accept it. It didn't make sense. My sister and I weren't best friends, but we weren't enemies either. We had our fights like any siblings do, but I trusted her. At least enough to believe she would never cross a line like this. But the picture told a different story, one I wasn't ready to believe, but couldn't ignore. I put the photo back where I found it and sat there in the dark, my heart pounding louder than the ticking clock on her wall. I started noticing other things in the room. Little details I had never paid attention to before. A hoodie that didn't belong to her, tucked beneath the bed. A half-empty bottle of cologne I knew she didn't use. And worst of all, a necklace. One I had gifted him just a few weeks ago, now hanging casually on her lamp like it meant nothing. I didn't sleep that night. I just laid there, replaying every conversation, every weekend plan that got cancelled last minute, every weird excuse he had given me. I kept thinking maybe I was overreacting. Maybe there was a good explanation for all of it. But deep down, something in me knew this wasn't just a misunderstanding. Something was happening, something I wasn't supposed to find out. The next morning, I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. I went back to my room without saying a word. I didn't confront her. I didn't call him. I didn't know how to. What if I was wrong? What if I ruined everything over one photo? But at the same time, what if I was right? What if the people I trusted most were keeping the darkest kind of secret from me? I needed answers. And I knew I wouldn't get them by pretending nothing happened. But I also knew, the moment I started asking questions, everything would change. For the next 2 days, I acted like nothing happened. I smiled when my sister came back home, I replied to my boyfriend's texts like everything was fine, and I kept that photo buried deep in my pocket like a secret that was burning through my skin. Every time I looked at my sister, something inside me cracked a little more. I kept watching her closely, her expressions, the way she laughed at her phone, the way she left the room quickly when I entered. I started to notice things I never paid attention to before. Like how she always kept her phone face down, or how she suddenly changed her lock screen. Small things, but they added up. I even started checking her social media. Nothing obvious was there, no photos, no tags, nothing that screamed betrayal. But it was too clean. Too careful. I knew my sister. She used to be careless about what she posted. Now it felt like she was hiding in plain sight. My stomach stayed in knots, and sleep was almost impossible. Every conversation felt fake. Every "hey, how was your day?" felt like a test I had to pass. The worst part was pretending with him. He kept calling me babe, sending heart emojis, making plans for the weekend like he hadn't ripped something out of me. And every time he smiled through the screen, I wondered, was she standing right next to him when he sent that? Did she already know what he was texting me? Or worse, was she helping him lie? Meanwhile, I started digging. Quietly. I went through old photos on my phone, old texts, old voice notes. I started looking for gaps in the timeline, moments where they both went quiet at the same time, or where one of them had an excuse that lined up too perfectly with the others. I found 1 week, 2 months ago, when he said he had gone to visit family out of town. That same week, my sister suddenly had a girls' trip she didn't want to talk much about. It wasn't proof. But it was enough to make my heart pound harder. And just when I thought I couldn't take the tension anymore, something else happened. Late one night, I saw a message pop up on her laptop screen while she was in the kitchen. Just a few words. From him. But enough to tell me everything I feared was true, and maybe worse than I imagined. I don't even think she realized her laptop screen had lit up. She was just a few feet away in the kitchen, humming to herself while pouring a glass of water. But I saw it. Clear as day. His name, flashing in bold on her screen. The message wasn't long, but it was enough to send chills down my spine. Last night was risky. Be careful. She's starting to ask questions. My hands turned cold. My breath caught in my throat. I just stood there, frozen, while the words burned themselves into my memory. She walked back and like nothing had happened, holding her glass, laughing about something she saw on TikTok. I nodded and forced a smile, but I felt like I was standing on a tightrope with no safety net. My mind was racing. Last night? What did they mean by that? Had they seen each other again? While I was under the same roof? That night, I lay in bed with my eyes open, trying to piece everything together. The photo, the necklace, the hoodie, the message, it all pointed to one thing. My sister and my boyfriend weren't just keeping secrets. They were building something behind my back. And I had been blind to it for months. I kept thinking back to all the times she borrowed my phone and casually asked when he was coming over. All the moments he asked if my sister was going to be around when we hung out. It was subtle, just enough not to raise alarms. But now, with everything I knew, it felt obvious. It felt like I had been played. By both of them. I needed to see it for myself. Proof. Something I couldn't twist in my own head or excuse away. So the next day, I made a plan. I told both of them separately that I'd be out of town for the weekend. I faked a cousin's wedding, even left home with a packed bag and took a cab 3 blocks away before circling back and sneaking into the house through the back. I set up my phone in my room, recording, and waited. My heart thudded in my chest like a drum. Every minute that passed felt like an hour. I didn't know what I expected, but I knew something would happen. I could feel it. And when I finally heard the front door open and familiar voices echoing through the hallway, I knew the truth was about to walk right in. The moment I heard their voices, my entire body went still. I was hiding in the hallway closet, door cracked just enough to see the living room. My phone was still recording from the bedroom, but now I wanted to witness it with my own eyes. My sister's laugh came first, light and familiar. Then his voice followed, quiet but too comfortable, like he had done this before. They walked in like it was normal, like it was their space. My space. They sat on the couch, and I could hear their conversation clearly from where I was hiding. He asked her if I had really left town. She said yes, smiling like it was some inside joke. My hands were shaking. Not just from anger, but from the realization that everything I had feared, everything I had doubted myself about, was true. But just when I thought I had seen the worst of it, something happened that I hadn't expected at all. He pulled out a small box from his jacket. It was a ring. Not flashy, not huge, but it was unmistakably a ring. And he handed it to her with this crooked smile. I don't want to keep hiding anymore, he said. You deserve more than this. My sister's eyes welled up. She didn't say yes. She didn't say no either. She just stared at it, stunned, like she hadn't expected it either. That moment broke me in a way I didn't know was possible. Not only were they betraying me behind my back, they were making plans. Future plans. I didn't even know if we were still dating or if he was using me as a cover until he figured things out with her. The betrayal was deeper than just infidelity. It felt like my entire reality was being rewritten while I was still in it. And then came the second twist. My sister finally spoke, and what she said shook the ground under me. I can't do this anymore, she whispered. Not because I don't care. But because she's pregnant. Pregnant. At first, I didn't even register what she meant. I thought maybe she was talking about herself. But the way she said it, the guilt in her voice, the way she glanced toward the hallway like she knew I was still part of the picture, it hit me like a train. She was talking about me. She knew. He knew. They both knew. And they still went ahead with it anyway. I had no idea how she found out. I hadn't even told anyone except a close friend a week ago. Maybe she overheard something. Maybe he snooped through my phone. But the fact that they knew and still sat there, still kissed, still talked about us like I was already gone from the picture, it was something I couldn't make peace with. The betrayal was no longer just about cheating. It was about erasing me while I was still here. And that was something I could never forget. I didn't wait any longer. My body moved before my mind could catch up. I swung the closet door open and stepped into the living room. The look on their faces, pure shock. My sister's eyes widened like she'd seen a ghost. He froze, ring box still in his hand. For a second, no one said anything. The air felt heavy, like we were all standing on the edge of something none of us could undo. So, I said quietly, trying to keep my voice from cracking, how long has this been going on? Neither of them answered. My sister opened her mouth, then closed it. He stood up slowly, like he was approaching a wild animal. I was going to tell you, he said, his voice low, pathetic. It got complicated. Complicated? I repeated, laughing bitterly. You slept with my sister while I was pregnant with your child. That's not complicated. That's disgusting. He stepped forward again, but I raised my hand. Don't. Don't even try. My sister finally spoke. I didn't know at first, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't know you were expecting. And when I found out, I wanted to stop everything. But he kept saying it didn't mean anything with you anymore. That you two were already falling apart. Her words didn't help. They only added fuel to the fire. I could see the cracks in her too, the way her voice shook, the way her hands trembled. But I wasn't looking for excuses. I wanted truth. I wanted closure. And most of all, I wanted to reclaim the part of me they tried to destroy. I've been recording everything, I said, pulling out my phone. Every word. Every lie. You didn't just betray me, you betrayed your own blood. And you, I looked straight at him, you're going to take responsibility whether you like it or not. He went pale. You can't do that, he said. It was private, it stopped being private when you made my life your secret game, I snapped. I turned to leave, my hands still shaking, but I felt stronger than I had in days. Just as I reached the door, my sister called out, wait. I paused, half expecting another apology or excuse. But what she said next was something I never saw coming. It wasn't just him, she said, her voice cracking. You need to know the truth. He wasn't the only one. I wasn't the first. I turned back slowly. What are you talking about? She looked me dead in the eye. Someone else knew. Someone you trusted. This goes deeper than just us. Mom knew. She helped cover it up. For a moment, the room spun. In all this, I thought I was fighting betrayal from two people. But now, it felt like I had only scratched the surface of a web I never knew existed. And suddenly, the real story had just begun. For a long moment, I couldn't speak. My chest felt tight, like all the air had been sucked out of the room. I stared at my sister, trying to make sense of what she had just said. Mom knew? The idea was almost too much. I had spent days building up the courage to face two betrayals, and now there was a third waiting quietly in the background, wrapped in someone I had always believed would protect me no matter what. I left without saying another word. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just walked out of the house, got in the first cab I could find, and told the driver to take me anywhere but home. I needed space to think, to breathe, to understand how everything had unraveled so fast. I felt like a stranger in my own life. Later that night, I confronted my mom. I didn't accuse her. I just asked her a simple question, did you know? Her face didn't change, but her silence said everything. She looked tired. Sad, maybe. She told me she didn't want to hurt me. That she thought she was protecting me. That she hoped it would all just blow over, that maybe it wasn't serious, and she didn't want to be the one to break my heart. But it was already broken. And not just by my boyfriend or my sister. It broke because the people who were supposed to stand by me looked the other way when they saw the cracks forming. They didn't stop it. They didn't speak up. They just hoped I wouldn't notice. In the days that followed, I made the hardest decisions of my life. I ended things with him for good, blocked, deleted, erased. I stopped speaking to my sister. I needed time, maybe forever. I moved out and started staying with a friend who opened her doors without asking for details. And I focused on the one thing that mattered now, my child. The one piece of this story that was mine, untouched by lies. There are still days when the memories sneak up on me. Nights when I wonder how I missed the signs, how I trusted so blindly. But with time, I've come to accept something important. Betrayal doesn't say as much about who you are as it does about the ones who hurt you. And healing isn't about forgetting, it's about choosing peace over pain, and truth over silence. This story isn't just about infidelity or secrets hidden in a sister's room. It's about finding the strength to face what hurts, walking away when you deserve better, and refusing to let someone else's lies define your worth. And maybe the most powerful thing I've learned is this: some truths are painful, but they set you free. And freedom is always worth the price. 44.